open mic, and we are now back to the second segment of our program. And on that score, I'm now going to deal with Mr. Urban Wilson, who needs no introduction. However, I would like to indicate to Mr. Wilson that having visited his organization approximately 2 years ago, I was blown away by the setup. The quarry business is challenging in the best of times based on the nature of the material and harsh complexities of all aspects, not to mention the cost. Your finished product has been excellent and the quality is unsurpassable in my opinion from what I've seen. On that score, Mr. Wilson, I ask you to brief the nation on your challenges and successes in your business, having been an employee of Lime for some 15 to 20 years.
12 years.
How many years?
12 years.
12 years, sorry. And we want to compliment Lime for all the training Mr. Wilson derived, how he's been able to make use of it in this day and age. And I'm so proud of him being here today and for what he has done, because fortunately that I happen to be in a position where I have been Mr. Wilson's, when I say I, our organizations have been one of his largest, should I say, customers in the field of blocks through Caribbean Metals and through CFL for the number of eggs he produces in his farm. Mr. Wilson, please.
Okay, thank you for the invite, and thank you, St. Lucia, for tuning in. I would start with saying that manufacturing as a whole in St. Lucia has a bad history. It has a bad history. One, take yourself for example. You are in both manufacturing and sales. People will identify Mr. Michael Chasney as a man in the retail trade. So we developed a history of trading and merchantism. So you have that working against you in manufacturing. So by that alone means there is less precedent in the financial community, in the business, in the banking sector, in the government structures to understand, you know, the numbers are not there, the success stories are not there. What is required to build a manufacturing base? That's another one. And the third is the thirst for cheap products. You know, in life you cannot have it all. We cannot have jobs and cheap products at the same time. So in recent times, I start to look deep and reflect. And like I tell my workers, I start to look in the mirror. I start to look in the mirror and ask myself, because I think this is the trend that we need to take. You first, you know, historically people look down. They look down and blame everybody behind. You know, I don't. I ask myself, what more can I do? What does it take? Yeah? And when I'm lost, I look up. I look up for inspiration. So it is a complex mechanism to build a manufacturing base because of all those historic factors. So it's been unforgiving. It's been unrewarding because no one seems to identify manufacturing as something significant to the country, even if it does not impact in terms of the same numbers on GDP. But the job numbers are real job numbers. I mean, during the worst of the recession, I still was employing 70 persons.
How many?
70.
70.
70, yeah. Mm-hmm. And I mean, when I heard President Obama in his early, you know, trying to bring back the American economy, stating that, look, listen, once you are in employing, because we look at the significance of businesses in terms of contribution to GDP. So we are isolating contribution to GDP and job numbers. But President Obama said, once you're employing more than 40 persons, you're in the top 4% of the economy. But here, that means nothing. Send them home. Just do what you have to do to make the profits. So you have a profitability issue because you have a consumer base that's thirsting for. So there is a lot against us. And this is the matrix we have to work on in order to be able to foster growth in the manufacturing sector.
Urban, when I came to your factory and I saw the level of investment that you had to make a block, I was blown away, because the last time I saw such a setup was when I was in the shipping business some 35 years ago, 40 years ago. I used to bring pumice from Dominica to St. Thomas, and there was a company called Island Block that made blocks out of pumice because of the lightweight material, and they made an excellent block. And it was when I suppose I have a liking for construction, and when I saw that, I thought of one person who was my friend, Mr. Old Man J.Q. Charles, and I told him about it, and I actually brought the first shipment of 800 tons of pumice to St. Lucia for him, and it was through me that J.Q. Charles started the block business here in St. Lucia. But the old man felt afterwards he had the sand right on shock, he had the stone, he saw no need to bring pumice from away. But he didn't realize something you just mentioned earlier, and that is the pumice gives you a stronger block, and it was 1/3 the weight of a concrete block. So in America, when a man could lay 3 blocks in a specific time, he could only weigh 1 heavy block. That's what I was told. And you know, the last time I saw that kind of equipment was really in St. Thomas. But when I saw yours, and you've seen the quality of the block you have made, I was really fascinated. But more than that, when you took me around and showed me the actual quarry and the type of stone that you had to drill, you had to bring it in to the factory. And as you pointed out to me earlier, you had to analyze it before putting it through the machines. That's a lot of work. And I wonder, including myself, I had no idea that amount of work took place into the industry. And for that, I want to commend you. I'm going to be talking to you about your block business and later about the export trade. But I'd like you to bring to the public a little bit more about the block making.
Well, you mentioned a couple issues there. And one of the things we as Wheel Rock try to do is do it right the first time. And like you said, what we're doing is not new. We're not reinventing the wheel. So I did research to ensure that I could get the right investment to deliver the right product at the right quality. Now, quality itself, like I tell you, you wouldn't only know quality through testing. This is what I mentioned to you earlier. And there are variables, depend on the agenda. So we have sought to identify a plant which is a technologically advanced plant. It is a microprocessor-based plant, intelligent plant. But not only that, we had to have an ingredient, which is our raw material, to deliver something that would give the best value to the consumer. So this was the overall plan. And we did it in a period where the world was changing, the investment climate was bad. It involved us borrowing an additional $8 million to actually create this new product, which have changed the landscape of construction in St. Lucia. So it's something that I'm very proud of, but it came out of significant challenges up to this day. But what I'm proud of, that we did it and we did it right, and it is working. And what always I remember, you know, a comment that I understood, you know, an old lady made, well, I will not say old lady, sorry, a senior lady made when she said, listen, you know, acheter block la ba mwen, me mwen vle saki an laylon la. So we didn't just look at the product in terms of the quality, in terms of the presentation was important. And it comes at an extra cost. But we realize you need to, you know, appeal. A product must not just work right, it must look right, it must feel right, it must fit right. So it is a well thought through process that led us to that scale of investment, which, you know, sometimes you are heartbroken, but when you see the results, there is much joy of it all.
You know, you just said something about the lady and the island, and that reminds me so much of an incident which took place many years ago in Barbados. There was a company called Angelus and Company making furniture. But years ago, you know, as you know, probably you know, Paula and you, when you wanted to make a sofa or a cupboard, you know, you got a joiner and he came in, and 9 out of 10 times the work was not the same. Either it was very good or it was in between. And never forget, I was standing at that factory in Barbados and a client came in, and this guy had been mass producing cupboards and different things. And this fellow saw a cupboard he liked, and I saw him open the door and take a pencil and put a tick inside. And then he went to the owner and said, I'm going to come back tomorrow, but I want that particular one. Not realizing that there were 20 like that. And, you know, and that is how actually some 35 years ago, we had a small store in St. Lucia, and I was one of the first people to bring furniture of that nature into St. Lucia, because I was in the shipping business, and we used to go to Barbados on our schooners, and he would put all the furniture in a huge case, big box, and just bring it down. After the vessel was loaded, I would put it on deck, cover it, so just a 10-hour trip, and I would deliver it. And I distinctly remember we were turning over our stock something like 30 times a year because of the proximity of Barbados to St. Lucia and the quality of stuff that people had never seen before, and it was made in Barbados. This is Open Mic. We're going to take another break, and we're going to return to the third segment of our program. Thank you.